Like very early on, when we started looking at what this game could be, we brought in marine biologists who kind of helped us out with some workshops where we got to ask a lot of stupid questions, essentially. An example of that, like that is very foundational and core, is the whole thing with most corals will need like a set surface to grow on. So you actually need rocks or something hard or something that's placed in the ocean to actually grow something on it. And I think also the way that we handle water parameters is an example of that, while the way that we do we have it in our game.
Yeah, we had to gamify it a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're using a system called Boids, which is a very common way of simulating flocks of creatures, originally birds and then later fish like we use, and how they kind of swim together in flocks and interact with either walls or other types of fish or sources of food and so on. These fish like these fish, these other fish try to stay away from these other fish, and then they kind of try to move together and far away from each other depending on that. And sometimes they can like dash towards a fish to try and eat it while the other one tries to run away.
We call it magical realism, but how we're kind of taking this, we want to try to build everything out from how it works in real life, but that will often, because real life is unfair, it will feel unfair to the player. So we've balanced it towards fun first approach. For example, random event systems and stuff, we've set up a very strict timer on the events and how strong they can be to feel fair and easily manageable to the player. And it's the same with, for example, reactive ones, is you can't really get a bad reactive one while you're having a different bad event. And we try to create this kind of a balance within the system to make it feel like you are influencing the ocean and you're a part of this bigger thing, but also while keeping it fair and feeling fun and manageable to the player.
A lot of the changes that have been made in the game from the beginning to now actually comes from that we do quite a bit of like internal testing before we then started doing more external testing, that everyone is able to like give their opinion about the game, and no matter what role that you have. So we try to listen to those and find solutions to improve the entire development process. So it's actually been a lot of iterative changes. For instance, just finding, oh, okay, we're at this point where we have this gameplay. Actually, it's time that we start introducing advanced resources. You need to combine them to make something more advanced.
Is economy, because it's a city builder game, and in order to expand you'll need to use more of your resources, and we have limited resources with special nodes and stuff in the game that if you expand you'll get more of. But we also have narrative in the game, so we have narrative to push the player going forwards, written by the very talented Rihanna Pratchett. So we always designed everything with the main target of the player in mind, which is the expansion. So every system we've introduced into the game somehow will influence how the player can expand their reef into a bigger area or bigger zone. So they all kind of tie together in this one unified goal of creating a larger reef and being able to house more of the wildlife in the world. There is all like an ideal path through the game, which is just how the ideal player would go through it. But then we want to create the same experience kind of for other players. So we've been deciding to trying to design the game for players that want to maybe take their time and build stuff out and play slow and test the system and be able to take a step back and look at the wildlife they've created, but also create a fun experience for the player who are kind of more challenge driven and want to experience the difficulties faster. So the first thing we introduced, and every time you expand into a tier, you secretly are unlocking harder challenges throughout the game, which in turns are not that difficult if you have to put down the time to build a really strong economy.
I think one of the things that we decided on quite early as like a very motivating factor for our design was to kind of emulate the push and pull of, you know, real life reefs, of like it might expand, but then something happens which takes you back again. And for the player to be able to, if they want to, and it will be more effective if they do, learn what that push and what that pull is and work around it or with it.
We want to create a fun experience for both players that like to, we call it build wide or build tall in a sense. So it's been a lot of fun the wildlife view, where you can actually go into a special view where we stop a lot of the simulation and just allow you to take a look at your reef. So the fish will still be moving around and everything will look like it's kind of working. The workers are all idling at the time, but it allows you to kind of take a chill step back and experience your reef.